Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
What is purpose of Raki-S for this attribute? Because we have the already identity mapping attributes. Your idea, what is happening? Why do we need to create some map? Value needs to be a map and all right. Why a Kona attribute needs to be created? Can someone answer for this question? Let's say you are aggregating the data from target application. But let's take an example. When we are not sure what type of app is this. It may be a user app, it may be system app as well, right? If you want to differentiate, what do you do? You may introduce a new attribute in Sailpoint and you can map the value from the target application. You can introduce an attribute called user type. Then the value needs to be mapped from the target application. From which application you are going to aggregate. Is that clear? Still not clear. Just a minute, I'll demonstrate this scenario. Because of No, don't open there. I'll show you. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce a new attribute called user type. This user type should appear under this application account. But all the users, I'm going to create attribute and the value needs to be mapped from maybe top application or laser application. I will introduce a new attribute now. Sorry, I'll open a duplicate tab then. Can you open it? You saw what I guess. Now we'll introduce the attribute quickly. All account attributes. Attribute name will be, let's say user type. But the value needs to be, get it from which application. Account value needs to be, get it from which application. We can define the value needs to be, get it from maybe a HMS application. And the value needs to be get it using this column. Click on save. Now aggregate the data. Since we aggregated the value from HMS application, we'll see what will happen. We ran the upon aggregation task. Now go to user profile and refresh. Go to application account. Expand this. Here you could see user type called contractor. Maybe if you want to map any value from the target application in terms of account, then we can create attribute. Got. Now we have having this value, using this attribute, we can perform certain activity. You may have a requirement to perform certain activities where you want to exclude all the contracted people who is part of HMM's application. If you came across this scenario, developer requires some attribute needs to be introduced. Using this attribute, they can filter, identify all the list of users. Got it. Got it. Any other question? No, all good. To applicant. What happened here now? Did I lose track? I guess I did. I was trying to add a new application and I didn't save it. Obviously, it won't show account. Maybe you haven't provided the right database. I mean the right table from the right database. No. In my school workbench for track, I only have 2 tables. Capabilities. That's all I have. And then do it quickly. We'll see. You can select any random user. It's fine. And this one is going to JDC. D. Can someone explain the full form of JDBC? Java Database Connectivity. Sorry, I was following step by step from this. There. I would say there will be slight changes. What we discussed compared to this one, the document, because it's an older one. This is authoritative application, correct? How do we decide whether it's an authoritative application or not? If it has data that we're going to load, every application will have the data. And every application will have the user data, and we are supposed to aggregate, right? If it is a HR application, then no doubt you can define it as an authoritative application, or it's not possible. Test connections. Hold on. Not there. You have to type in the SQL statement. This one here. Yes, this. That's one more. Get object also. There is one more, get object. Not required. You have to add the attribute also, right? Hold on. You have to define the attribute. Oh, it's an account schema. Click on the discourses schema attribute. And you have to define unique value as an attribute. And this was username. I think in this case, it could be username, it could be ID. Again, we cannot determine because it depends on the unique value and it gets to be get it in the real-time application theme. But in this scenario, you can define either ID username or put. It's working. I think the object SQL, I put the SQL in a different place. Maybe that's why. That could be the reason. Or maybe you didn't define the attribute. Now try to aggregate the data quickly. But since it's a target application, you have to define the correlation also. That's very important. Got it. Capability is very important. Sorry, not capability. Correlation is very important. And now I'm going to go to how do I get rid of this nonsense? It's setup. Scroll down. No, not a grid. Already, you would have aggregated the data. Scroll down. Try to check. No, you don't have any task. Create a new one. That's it, right? From the drop-down, you have to select the application, right? Now execute the task. Save and execute. This task will help Sailpoint to communicate with the target application called track, and it will aggregate the data. Successful. Now open the task and check the status. Unfixes identity got created. Here you could see why identity got created. Maybe correlation was missing. Maybe exactly. The correlation was not there. Sailpoint will consider all the account as a new identity, right? Because the value didn't match somewhere. How do we merge then if the value doesn't match? How are we going to? You have to define the correlation, right? Once I define the correlation, it will automatically take care of. Just a minute, I didn't get it. Come again, Rima. Identity correlation, right? Not identity correlation. You have to perform. Now all the duplicate identity got created. You have to clean them manually. Maybe you can refer the video XXL into your process. That's why, whenever you are going to onboard an application, you have to define the correlation rule. Basically, we will match the value between Sailpoint identity and target application account. Does that make sense? I'm a little lost. I'll figure it out. Let me show you quickly. In Sailpoint, we will have identity, right? Let's say we have identity called James Smith. You have a James Smith identity. Same identity built on the same user is having a code on track application also. Let's say James Smith. Now you have to map the value between target application account and Sailpoint identity. Got it? Here you are having username. We are having usernames. Then we are having ID value, but in Sailpoint we don't have ID value. We have first name, last name, email. First name, last name, email. You have to define correlation using this value. Got it? You can refer it. Any other questions? Now it is. I was asking, do you guys have any other question or shall we proceed to the next chapter? The fundamentals of AM. Then we talk about architecture of Sailpoint very briefly. Then we talk about Sailpoint installation and then discuss about common terminologies. Then we talk about application onboarding terminology, how application onboarding we are supposed to perform as it is from real time. Then we discussed 4 to 5, connect 5 to 6, connect the right delimited J, B, C, A, D, L, D, P, loopback connector. We learned correlation, manual correlation. You know how to perform our fun identity cleanup. We didn't talk about application. We talked about application in the process. If I ask you to retire an application, do you think will you be able to do that? How to retire an application? Any one of you? You got a requirement to retire one application. Maybe the application is going to be decommissioned in the near future. Any idea how to perform, how to fulfill this requirement? Maybe we can talk about that later. I make a note of this. Then we talk about access rights, entitlement role. Then we talk about capabilities. Then loopback connector. We talk about approvals, access request customization, attribute creation, and task under reports. This is what we discussed far. Now we are going to talk about certification. If I am going to conclude, you know what is identity, what is account, you know how to submit request, what level of approval may be required, how to define approvals right, then how to split approval. Why do we need to execute tasks or reports? You guys are very familiar on these items and you know how to set up roles, how to aggregate entitlement, everything. And now it's time to talk about access review. Any one of you explain what is certification? It's just, I think it's an annual process where they go through the user's access and they kind of recertify, like he's saying, access review. Blindly, we cannot say it's an annual process. It can be a monthly process also, right? It may happen. Access needs to review, maybe on a quarterly basis also. Oh, I think just talking on in my organization, it's an annual process. Maybe they don't have any critical application. They can review once in a year also. It's fine. But why do we need to review? Is it mandatory? Recertification. I don't know if there is any difference between certification and recertification, but recertification is required because people change jobs during the course of the year. They move departments, they change roles, and they should not be carrying certain access which they may not use any longer. It is best that the line manager reviews and take a periodic review and decides whether it should continue or not. It's in the best interest of the safety. It should be required. You covered one part, unwanted access. In simple terms, I would say if any user is having unwanted access, then it needs to be reviewed by their manager, maybe the right person. Then the access needs to be removed from the Sailpoint. The Sailpoint will initiate the provisioning transaction. That's what certification is. You guys already know every user will have access to entitlement of different applications. Maybe the entitlement can be combined and role can be set up, and every user will have access to multiple roles from different applications to have different application access. As you said, if somebody is provided unwanted access, maybe intentionally or by mistake, sometimes the user may have unauthorized access also. What is unauthorized access? Again, I hope you guys are familiar with this, unauthorized or not. If any user is having unauthorized access again, it may be added intentionally or by mistake. It must be reviewed. That's what certification. In Sailpoint, we have a feature, a functionality called certification. Using the certification functionality, we can review all the user access. I would say certification is all about user access review. First, we'll understand all the terminology. Then we can get into this. Give me a minute. I'll add everything. Guys, if you didn't understand anything, any terminology, feel free to ask. I'll explain. Because certification is a big area. It's done. You know what is certification and what is certification campaign. What is certification campaign? Any? The whole process of certification is called certification campaign. The whole process means the moment you got a requirement, a certification will be configured. It will be executed. We can track the end of certification activity using the certification campaign. That's why I said the whole process of certification is called certification campaign. Using certification campaign, we can track everything. And what is access review? Access review is nothing except type of work item which will consist all the list of access which needs to be certified. Basically what Sailpoint will do. Sailpoint will present a list of access which is having by the user in front of their manager. Then his manager can either approve or revoke. Access review is a type of work item which will have all the list of access. I have a question. What type of items can be included in this access review? Any? Basically, what I am trying to ask is what type of access we can satisfy using certification. Maybe, or what type of items, I would say. Guys, if you didn't understand anything, feel free to ask. Entitlements for which? Obviously, we can add entitlement. Account. Accounts good. We can add entitlements, we can add accounts, we can add rows also, right? Using certification, these are the items that can be certified. We can include policy violation also. Let's say, as a manager, you receive the access review, which means technically you receive the work item. It's a certification work item. Once you open the work item as a certifier, who can act as a certifier? A certifier can be manager role owner, application owner, entitlement owner. It depends on what item you are supposed to review, right? The certifier will be decided. Sometimes specific individual identity or work group also can be part of certifier, can be act as a certifier. Imagine you are a manager. You receive a work item. Once you open the work item, you identify the access review and there whoever is reporting to you, the list of access is there. Now, as a certifier, you have to review each and every item. Then you have to provide your decision. If you are going to approve means you agree that user has a right set of entitlement roles, access everything. If you are going to reject, which means you felt that user don't have right set of access, which means the access needs to be removed immediately. I would say if any identity that has unwanted access, it needs to be revoked immediately. And if it is a connected application, then it will be removed automatically. In case, if it is a disconnected application, the manual work item will be generated. Once the manual work item is generated, then it will be removed from the target application. This is how the certification process will happen. In case of a disconnected application, some manual intervention is required, right? Is it? Exactly. Let's say you are a manager. I am your reportee. I have a couple of disconnected application access or non-conforming application access. You took a decision to remove all of them. Then we need somebody to remove the access, right? Technically, it's going to be application onboarding team, application team, or some access provisioning team. They will receive an internal ticket and they are supposed to remove their access from the target application. Rakesh, just one thing. If, as a manager, reporting manager, thinks that the resource should not be having approver, maybe checker or maker or lower privilege one. Is there any access to rearrange the role, or it is just that either 0 or 1? No, we cannot rearrange. Just either we can approve or revoke, that's it. Then if it is revoked, then it's up to the user to raise a request again, right? Request again, right? It's an yes or no decision that the line manager will do. And moreover, in real time, we can implement some customization. Something like if certified is not responding on time, then the decision will be considered as a revoke. Is that an option, Rakesh? In case it may be an inconvenience. See if the line manager is on a long life, say 1 month, and it's an overdue already. Would there be any configuration in Sailpoint? No. Configuration out of the box. It's a customization. Last month we implemented this functionality. Either to reject or leave it as it is. It itself is an enhancement, is it? The decision that to be taken if there is no action taken by the manager. Right. I hope you guys understood what is certification, what type of items we can certify, who can act as a certifier then, what is certification campaign, everything. I have a question. In order to generate a certification, we need to decide 3 things. That's very important. We need to be very sure what item needs to be certified. Second, who will certify it? Which certifier will certify it? And when it should be certified, when it comes to when. It depends on the criticality of the application. If it is a critical application, then the access needs to be reviewed once in a month or once in a quarter. If it is a non-critical application, it can be reviewed biannually or annually. Again, it depends on the application, team, stakeholders, business, all of them. Based on these answers, you can decide what type of certification we can configure in Sailpoint, because here in Sailpoint, we have different type of certification. Based on these 3 questions, what item needs to be satisfied? Let's say the end item needs to be certified. Then we can select entitlement owner certification. Every entitlement will have entitlement owner. Then that owner is responsible to review all of the user access. Who is having the particular entitlement? Let's say we want to review all the critical application. Then I will go ahead and I will select application owner certification. Let's say there is a requirement which states manager has to certify all of the reportee actors. Then I will go ahead and I will select manager certification. Got it? I hope you guys are clear. What item needs to be certified? When it needs to be certified, who will certify it? Before getting to certification, we will talk about delegation and reassignment. Any idea the difference between delegation and reassignment? What is delegation? What is reassignment? The difference between reassignment and delegation. Let's say you are a certified. Basically, you are a manager. You receive a work item access review. When you open the work item, you could see 10 user access are there. List of 10 people access are there. But actually only 5 people are reporting to you. What will you do? You are supposed to review those users who is reporting to you. You are not supposed to touch the remaining users who is not reporting to you. In such scenarios, you have to forward the 5 entities. In such scenarios, you can opt either delegation approach or reassignment approach. These two approaches will help you to forward the items. It may allow you to forward the entire work item, or else maybe only the 5 items which are the users who is not reporting to you. Both delegation and reassignment are same. But what is the difference between them? When it comes to delegation, once you receive the work item, Sailpoint will consider you as an original certifier. The moment you are going to assign the remaining 5 items who is not reporting to your other person, that person will be considered as a secondary certifier. If it is a delegation approach, the original certifier will be the first certifier has the authority to override the decision made by secondary certifier. If it is a reassignment, the original certifier don't have the authority to override the decision taken by the secondary certifier. That's the difference between delegation and reassignment. Does that make sense? Second difference when it comes to delegation. You are allowed to delegate only once. You are allowed to forward the entity once. You cannot forward once again. Once you delegated, you cannot forward again. But if it is a reassignment item, there is no limitation. After reassignment, also after forward the entire work item also, you can forward this item to other person. That's the difference between delegation and reassignment. I hope you guys are clear. If you have any questions. Rakesh, in either case, delegation or reassignment, once the action is completed, is it whole and complete, or again, the final say is still lying with the originator who forwarded? If you don't want to override. No, if you don't want to override, then it will be sign off, right? It's a sign off, right? The person who over is, it's a sign off. Then let's talk about certification type. You guys are clear when this application owner needs to be selected entitlement owner manager. Let's say we have application called Active Directory where we are having 1 lakh user accounts. Got? Now do you think one application owner, one certifier will be able to certify all 1 lakh user accounts? That's not possible. Next to impossible. In such scenarios, what can we do? We know these 1 lakh user accounts belongs to 1 lakh identity and each and every identity will have manager. Obviously, we can pick manager certification. We can select all managers. And on top of that, we can select only one application because manager certification will allow you to select specific application. In that way, we can review Active Directory application by the managers. Let's say you do want to go with manager's certification, same requirement, but your business is saying we should not go with manager certification. In such scenarios, we can go ahead with entitlement owners because these 1 lakh user accounts, obviously it will have entitlement at the end. Entitlement owner can review all these user access. Then, what is the difference between role composition and role membership? It's pretty simple. Let you know how to set up business role, IT role, entitlement, everything. Right? If you want to review If you want to certify, all the list of entitlement configured in the role is not. In such scenarios, we can go ahead with role composition. Mostly row owner will act as a certifier. Then what is role? Membership? A role. Membership certification will help you to satisfy whether right people have access to the right roles or not. Most of the time, manager will be act as a certifier when it comes to role membership. Then what is advanced and target certification? Any idea? Advanced certification means, let's say, when you want to certify people access based on their region, location, or any other criteria, then I would recommend we can go ahead with advanced certification. That's it, guys. And finally, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.